if you're in it for the long run, if you come into this committing to sticking with it for the long run, through any evolutions and iterations and pivoting and any adjustments you want to make, but you're sticking with this for the long run, you might as well get all comfy and cozy with foul balls and strikes. The quicker you learn how to move through the feelings that you're associating with your failure and don't allow them to stick or mean anything about you, the quicker you'll grow. And welcome back. So quick announcement before we get started. The online business school is open for enrollment, and there's all kinds of new stuff coming to the membership in 2023. So we have new curriculum, we have new features, and it all starts this quarter on January 22nd with Standout Online, Grow Your Online Presence. So that's going to be the first quarter of educational curriculum and the topic that we're going to learn in the online business school. And then you get to choose if you want to come just for this quarter and only learn about growing an online presence, or if you want to stay for the whole year. And if you want to see everything else that's coming this year in the online business school, you can click the link in the show notes and you'll see the full schedule. Having said all that, let's go ahead and get started. So in this episode, I want to share with you what I tell my best friend before she starts an online business. And I feel like these are helpful things to know that we'd file under the folder of like things that I wish I'd known about motherhood. And I've seen a lot of this stuff. And to some extent, I've been a part of contributing some of this conversation online, this message starting an online business is easy, or that it's effortless, or that all you need is a cell phone and some Wi-Fi and you can make, I haven't like guaranteed people money, but I've seen this message out in the online space. You can make millions of dollars with your cell phone. And while those things can be true, and I do believe that there are ways to make your business easier, way to do things online more efficiently and with more ease and more effortlessness. Effortless, is that a word? And for most things, a cell phone will do, and you can do most things from your cell phone. There's a lot more to it, and it's still a lot. And sugarcoating this entrepreneurship experience feels like a disservice to you, to me, to anybody who's ever thought that they could start an online business. And I don't believe that it's actually serving us. So preparing you for one of life's biggest transformations, in my experience, entrepreneurship, outside of motherhood, being in a healing, loving, deep, long relationship, and grief. Again, in my opinion and in my experience, it feels important to prepare you for this transformation that is starting and building an online business. And I really didn't want to approach this episode in like a gatekeeper, scare tactics kind of way, like warnings, and stuff like that, but rather in a prepare me the best that you can so that this business ownership ride goes smoother kind of way. You know what I mean? It's kind of like when you had a baby and you were like, why did no one tell me this? That kind of stuff, that kind of conversation. We don't approach new mothers and women who are about to become a mother, at least we shouldn't be, I believe, with scare tactics and horror stories and things to scare the hell out of them. Like, that's not the goal here. It's rather from a space to better prepare them. It wouldn't change your decision to create life, to have a baby. And it doesn't mean that you don't adore the shit out of your little people that you create, right? It means that you may have felt more prepared for those tears that came out of nowhere when your husband wore jeans to the first pediatrician appointment postpartum and you were still wearing maternity leggings. Yes, really. It's more of that feeling of like, oh, I remember hearing about this. I remember that there's this, whatever it is. It's not that it takes the tears away. It's not that it takes the potential discomfort away or people's experiences, but it might make people feel a little bit more comforted knowing that it's normal. All of these things that we're experiencing, most of them, I should say, fall within what we would believe and generally accept to be as normal. Because here's the thing about doing business online. Yes, it's amazing. It's amazing that I can do what I love most days without wearing pants or proper pants. I can wear sweatpants most of the days if I'm working from home. It's amazing that I get to do my deep soul work in my house. I don't hardly have to drive the car. And yes, I wouldn't trade it for cubicle life unless there were extenuating circumstances, right? And it fulfills my soul on such a deep level. And at the same time, it's not always easy. I am human with very real emotions and a very real sometimes rude mental chatter, navigating this journey that veers off the standard program that most of us were kind of sold of how we're supposed to live our lives and how we're supposed to do work in the world, and putting myself out there over and over and again, right? So the goal here is to normalize some of the previously sugar-coated sides and things about starting an online business. So where I would recommend starting is asking yourself, why? Why business? Why online business? Why building a social media presence or an online presence? And my hope is that you don't answer with something like, well, to make money from home. I get it, but that's a byproduct of why. So really dig beyond that. That's the first thing that comes up. I urge you to dig deeper than that. Why entrepreneurship? My mentor asked me this about a month ago, and here's what I came up with, some of what I came up with. Because I don't know many other fellow weirdo entrepreneurs in real life who like to talk about all things online business and energetics and human design and raw motherhood and all things metaphysical. I don't know those people in real life. I feel like the internet is one of the spaces that has allowed me to meet other people like me because it fuels me. It fuels me with purpose. And because I need something outside of motherhood, outside of the beautiful experience of being a wife and being a mother, I need that for me because it's my medium. It's my art. It's what I create. And because even with the hard shit and the days that kind of suck and the moments that kind of suck, it's always worth it. So I share all of this to say, if you are going into business and thinking you're going to start an online business with the primary motivation of making money, you might not enjoy my corner of the internet. You might not enjoy my podcast. But if you're here and you've been hanging with me for some time, I would assume that that's not the primary priority for you, that falls more of a byproduct. As a byproduct of doing all of those other things, money flows. And yes, I do enjoy experiences that money helps make possible, of course. And yet I don't put it as my primary motivation. Now, if any of that resonated with you and you're like, hell yeah, me too, you're my people. And just like I tell my best friend, there's some things that I want to tell you about entrepreneurship before you jump in. Because if you can go in being prepared for and being familiar with and knowing another way to look at some of the things that we are experiencing in the online space, it'll all be worth it. And your experience navigating this roller coaster, my hopes is that it's smoother and with more ease. Okay, so without further ado, let's walk through the examples. Number one, it all takes work. There are hardly ever quick fixes and quick solutions and pills that will solve all of your business woes in a matter of days. Yes, there are people who are genetically designed to have a clear path to success and a 26-inch waist. But for the vast majority of us, we have to go to the gym if we want booty gains. We got to work for it. We have to work on building this online presence and this business. So when you see things online that look like this shiny object or like this promise and sugar-coated promise for quick success, like a quick fix formula for 30 days to 1,000 new followers or a $10,000 month or whatever other measure of success that looks shiny to you or that you think you're supposed to have because that's what other people are doing and talking about, know that yes, there are loads of ways that there might be 1,000 new people in your Instagram community in the next 30 days. And there's loads of ways that you can earn $10,000 a month plus. Yes, absolutely. And everyone's formula works for them because it worked for them. You know, it always works when it works for you. It may or may not work for everyone. If it worked for them, it may not work for us. And that's okay. Try things on, see what fits, and know that there is work involved. Another point under this category of yes, there's work involved is this concept of this is what we hear about online of like fully automated business where I don't have to touch anything in my business. Everything runs on automate and there's just money rolling in. Listen, I have a lot of automated work happening in my business. I am a fan of the ease that things like automations provide me in business, the efficiencies. And yet I will tell you from a lot of experience doing this and having funnels and various sequences and opt-ins and emails and digital course, all of the things, right? Even the most incredibly automated systems and funnels require work and not just on the front end. You might have 20 different versions or more of a given funnel or email sequence, or even a course or a workshop or a program. You test over time, step by step. And even after you have the best possible version of your funnel and your opt-in and you've got it all set up, how are people going to find it? I mean, yeah, I have absolutely experienced people falling out of thin air. It feels like they just pop out of nowhere and pop in my DMs. I've never heard of them. They never commented on anything. Somehow they landed on my page, and that day they saw something that they were like, I want to work with you. Of course that has happened, but it's not something that necessarily happens to everyone all the time. There's a lot of pieces that go into building an automated online business that is correct for you and that aligns with you and aligns with your energy. And it does require work and willingness to test things and try some more. Okay, number 2, faith. You're going to need a heavy dose of faith. You'll need this when it looks like things might not work or like things aren't working. It's easier sometimes to have faith in the perceived safety of the corporate program life, right? We see that, and there's so much evidence of it, of people who go work for corporate. And I'm not bashing corporate, by the way. I know a lot of people who love working their corporate jobs, and that's awesome. But sometimes there is this perceived safety net that the corporate life, the program that we've been conditioned to believe is what we're supposed to have, is safe. And we see so much of it. The majority of people live that life. And so there's a lot of evidence to back up our belief that that's a safe option and a viable option. There's not that much evidence to prove that what we want to build is possible. There is evidence, and there's increasingly more and more every day, but not quite what we see in the corporate world, right? So to build the dream business, your dream business, you have to believe it before you see it. And that requires a great deal of faith. And if you've ever had a baby, it reminds me so much of that, right? Of that period where like you're waiting for birth and you're counting down the days, and you're 40 weeks, and then you're 40 weeks plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, plus 4, plus 5, but you're 41 weeks or beyond. The faith that you hold, and you apply that faith as a template, because you know the feeling. If you've been in that position, you know what that feels like. Can you apply that to starting your business and birthing your business baby? Again, what we tend to see, even though we don't see a lot of success in online business stuff, the kind of stuff that we're doing, we see more of the corporate world stuff. The stuff that we do see about people in online business having success tends to be their success story. We're getting a picture of the final piece. We're getting a picture of the final results after all of this other stuff, usually, right? So what we don't often see and hear about are the so many failures and stumbles and moments where they had to hold the faith so deeply, get to this shiny version that we see. And there are so many stories like that of people in the thick of those moments right now that maybe haven't yet reached that shiny product. They're building it still. They're working on it still. It's you, it's me, it's our peers. It's the people we're masterminding with, and that we are talking to our coaches with, and we're in mentorship programs with, and people in the online business school. We're building. What if that's the evidence, is that there is success in all of these failures? This is another angle of the conversation that I didn't plan to introduce, but here we go. And here we are. Thank you for hanging with me on all my riffs. What if we normalized holding the faith when it doesn't seem like things are working, instead of throwing in the towel? And again, I've shared with you on the podcast before about like the difference between quitting and getting a bridge job. Like, get the bridge job and hold the faith, but we're not quitting for good. Can you hold the faith when it feels like it's not going to work? Can you be the waiter that is waiting tables while you're trying to get the acting gig of your industry? Are you able to do that? Okay. Number 3, navigating failure. And we kind of started to talk about this a little bit, but I do want to go a little bit deeper with this. Your ability to navigate failure is incredibly important to your emotional maturity as an entrepreneur. Now, you might open your virtual doors of your business and fill your books immediately. I have had clients who experience this. Absolutely. But in my experience, and in my opinion, a lot of us fail a lot before we succeed. And it's not like failure, like you suck, your business sucks, or you should quit. It's failing as in course correction, as in, okay, that was a learning opportunity. That was a course correction. Wipe ourselves off, stand up, dust it off, and keep going. What's next? Okay, what's next? How quickly can I fail to move towards my success, to move towards the thing that I desire? If I know that there's going to be so many failures along the path, or moments where I'm going to stumble and I'm going to have to learn something and course correct a little bit before I get to that point where it's what I would consider success. Would I not want to fail faster? I do. And remember that not everything is a home run the first time. And if you're in it for the long run, if you come into this committing to sticking with it for the long run, through any evolutions and iterations and pivoting and any adjustments you want to make, but you're sticking with this for the long run, you might as well get all comfy and cozy with foul balls and strikes. The quicker you learn how to move through the feelings that you're associating with your failure and don't allow them to stick or mean anything about you, the quicker you'll grow. So again, the quicker you are willing to fail and the quicker you can move through the feelings that you feel, because it's okay to feel the feelings. It's normal. I feel just this week, I felt the feelings of like, I don't know if I can do this anymore, but I moved through it so much quicker than I used to. It doesn't stop me in my tracks for days or weeks. I was through it within a matter of less than an hour. The quicker you can do that, the easier this ride will be. And the final one is being imperfect and being willing for people not to like you or not to love you. And that's a hard one. To my fellow people pleasers of the room, hello, hi, I love you, I see you, I am you. I have been a people pleaser since as long as I can remember. And as an adult, it's really tricky to undo a lot of the people pleasing that we are conditioned to learn as kids. If you are in this for the long run, if you are willing to hold the faith, if you're willing to do the work, if you value your why so much more than all of these hiccups and moments and downsides of the roller coaster, you need to know that there is going to be people who don't vibe with you or that don't vibe with your work. And it's okay. It means nothing about you. The visual that came to mind when I was thinking about this week actually is it's like they're tuning into a radio station. So aging myself here a little bit because any young people listening might not remember this. The radio, like the actual AM FM radio, used to have a dial in the car. The radio in the car had a dial, a little dial knob that you'd turn and you'd tune into radio stations. You'd turn it to get to like 92.5 or 95.7 or 94.1 or whatever station you want to listen to. You had to turn to get to the right signal for that station, tune into their frequency, tune into, and that's what I thought of. The people who don't vibe with you, they're just tuning into a different station. They're choosing to turn the dial and tune into a different station. They're not bashing this other station, maybe, hopefully. I mean, it doesn't mean anything about your station if they turn the channel. They prefer a different kind of music. That's okay. Because I like 90s R&B hip hop does not mean that I care if you prefer country music. Hey, knock yourself out. Like whatever makes you happy. It doesn't mean anything about country music that I don't care for it. Doesn't mean anything about 90s R&B if you don't like it, right? And please, if you don't like Beyonce, I don't want to know that. I'm joking. You know how I am with her. So having said all of that, having shared all of that, what resonated with you the most? And if you have already started a business and you've navigated some of this stuff and you've been dealing with some of these things and more, what would you add? Like, what would you add to this conversation? Because this is not a catch-all list. This isn't everything you need to know, right? We don't have this. It's a podcast episode. This isn't like a full private one-on-one mentorship or a full year in the online business school where we can go into every single thing, because you'd have 365 days with me that you get to do this with me, interacting with me, hint. But what would you add to this list? Please, I invite you to share it with me on social media if you feel up to it. You can DM me or you can screenshot wherever you're watching or listening to this and share it to your Instagram stories. Tag me, write a caption, tell me what it is that you'd add, like what landed with you, what resonated with you. Or you can write a post. You can write something and talk about it and tag me. I'd love to hear your reflections and how my work is supporting you in doing your thing in the world. Hey, have a beautiful week, friends. See you next. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day and listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found value in what I'm sharing here. And if you did, can you do me a little favor and go and rate and review this episode? I will share a link in the show notes so that it's really easy to rate and review this podcast. It would mean a lot to me, as this is truly a passion project. Have a beautiful day, and I will see you next week.